God. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to be talking all about nostalgia. Woo! As you see right here, I have some visuals for you to look at when we're talking about nostalgia. This is an OK Soda Prize can that you could randomly find in a vending machine. That was an OK Soda vending machine. Very rare. This one is still sealed. This is a Crystal Pepsi can. I think this is the Spanish release. Yeah, the Spanish release of Crystal Pepsi. And an Orbitz drink from the 90s, just to show you, all this stuff is very cool. It's really awesome to look back and look through all the stuff from the 90s or whenever, you were growing up and you remember. Pardon me. You remember, all this stuff, and oh man, it really just sucks you back in. It's like taking a time machine. It's a mental time machine being nostalgic. And, you know, I myself, of course, I mean, look at this room. Obviously, it's full of nostalgic stuff. My t shirt, everything. And it's great to look back at times when you were a kid, things were more magical, things were fun, new, everything was fresh, everything seemed to have some magic. The future seemed to have no limitations. The sky was the limit. Some people's versions of the sky were far more greater than others, but still, no matter what, the sky was the limit when you're young and you're, growing up with all these cool things that you do see in the marketplace. I'm talking about, American kids growing up and seeing just mass consumerism of products such as all this. And we don't see it as a bad thing. We see it as something that is cool that really takes us back to a certain time. And that could go all the way back to the 1960s, 50s when you have, older guys collecting baseball cards. And you're like, oh man, I remember I opened up packs to get, Willie Mays and all that. And there's a lot that is great about nostalgia. And when it comes to YouTube, you see so much nostalgic content. Not just, oh man, it's going all over the place. Instagram, TikTok, like all that stuff. It's such a huge thing to get into. Nostalgia can get dangerous, even if you don't do anything on YouTube or whatever. Just always looking into the past to comfort yourself is a dangerous thing because you are looking back into a world that doesn't exist anymore. There are so many things I could look back at from the 90s and be like, oh man, I miss that. And you got to snap yourself back to the present and realize some of those buildings that you spent they don't exist anymore. Maybe your childhood room doesn't even exist anymore. There's a new family living in it that you know nothing about. There are so many things that if you look at it now, it's gonna just hurt you if you look back in the nostalgic era back in the day. And it's always good to revisit your memories. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, do not get me wrong. As someone that does documentaries on things and has to root through the history and dig things up and all of that, it massive waves of nostalgia hit me. Just boom, boom, would be like, oh man, I miss that. Oh, I miss that as well. But here's the thing about looking back on all those good times. As I've said before, nostalgia paints the past with gold. So you can't always look back on everything that was good or like, oh, the best era. There was a lot of, no matter what era you think is the best era, there was always some crap that came with it. If you always go back and look back, oh, that was the good old days. You're always like just fixated on what was good in the past. You're gonna miss all the good stuff that is happening now. Now, we could laugh and have a good chuckle and be like, what is good now? There are plenty of things, but if you are blinded by how good things were back then, you're not going to see anything. That's like some people that are fixed on listening to music just from when they were a teenager and they were young and they're stuck just listening to that. I'll listen to music now that's still popping off and coming out, and I'll enjoy that too. If you're just fixated on that, what you grew up with, and you're going to be thinking that's the best and everything else sucks, you're not going to have an open ear for anything new. But if you kind of just let go and stop being nostalgic about everything, you're bound to have more doors open up and appreciate stuff that's happening in the day. And that's what I'm trying to get at. If you're always nostalgic, you're never going to appreciate what is happening now, and you're always going to be letting yourself down when you're thinking about how good it was back in the day and how everything sucks now. Like it's a almost like a an evil or a demon sucking on your brain, always saying, "Oh, nothing is good now." Just keep dumping poison in your brain and thinking about how the past was always better. And as much as I love going through nostalgic stuff and talking about things and going over the history of stuff, I also want to create things that don't even exist yet. Because if you're going to be nostalgic about something and everyone's going to be nostalgic about something, then no new stuff is going to be made that generations after us will be nostalgic for. They'll wind up being nostalgic for stuff that you're nostalgic about, and there's nothing. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of crazy how people will always just never want to look forward and want to create something new. They just go back to the same thing, which that's why I kind of like poke fun at nostalgic pages, because there is nothing actually of substance that they are creating that is new or anything. They're just like going back to the minds of yesterday and picking out some, old Pepsi can or something and be like, hey, here's some more, what have you done? What did you create? A video going over the history about it? Yeah, that's fine, that's cool. But at some point, there needs to be new stuff created that is good and decent. At least for me, I always want to keep things on a 50-50, like an even keel. Yeah, let's go back and be nostalgic for a bit, but let's also listen to this song with farts in it that I just made. This is brand new. Nothing nostalgic about it. Something fresh. Really fresh, sometimes too much. Or whatever, something that is pushing things forward instead of just always looking back. And so I never want to just get stuck in the running of the tires in the mud of just, hey, here's something old that I pulled out of my closet. Look at this. And also, if you're going to do YouTube, it's always good to be very critical and self-aware of what you're doing at all times. Like, do I think I'm silly wearing this hat backwards? Obviously. Me holding this fake cigarette, am I fully aware that this looks ridiculous? Yes, obviously. There's no wool that I'm trying to pull over anybody's eyes. I am aware that all of this is ridiculous. But at the same time, I'm not trying to make anybody think any different either. It is what it is. You watch it and you do what you feel and think what you feel about it. But at least for me, what I know is, yes, I am doing this nostalgia stuff. I am fully aware that it is somewhat cheesy because so many people are doing it. But I'm going to do it my way because I want to do it. I feel like doing it. I'm not here to tell anybody what to do. But at a certain point, I am going to feel like, yeah, let's move on to the next thing. Let's move on to the future. Let's create new stuff, fresh stuff, original content that has no ties to anything but what has come from my own brain. And when I make some of those videos where I poke fun at people being nostalgic, I'm more or less poking fun at myself too. So that's another thing I'm being very self-aware of is, yes, I know. Remember when? Do you remember when? Yes, I remember when too. All right, so the final thing I will say is when I will make fun of something, say, Taylor Swift, whatever, make a joke about Taylor Swift. The next day, I will be listening to Taylor Swift, and someone may turn to me and say, "Hey, I thought you didn't like Taylor Swift. You were making fun of her the other day. What? What? I'm confused. Oh, my brain's short circuiting. Two things aren't working how I connected it in my head. My perception's being warped, and I don't like it." Here's the deal: you have to know something in and out and pretty much have that be a part of your life, or at least, be a fan in order to properly make fun of it. And I will make fun of things all the time that I am a super fan of. So that's also another thing. I'm a super fan of everything nostalgic and all the pages and stuff. And, I probably have a lot more insight and info and thoughts about things nostalgic, but at the same time, you have to know about all that stuff to really poke fun at it and really make a good joke about it. So in a nutshell, just because I make fun of something doesn't mean that I hate it. It would actually mean that I like it quite a lot, to know so much about it that I could eloquently make fun of it and imitate it so well. But anyways, I guess I'm just making this video for myself to watch, really. Tell myself, hey, it's cool to look back and be nostalgic, but let's look forward into the future and create some new stuff. And let's not, always just want to harken back to the good old days. So, anyways. Okay, so since we're done with that video now, I do want to close this all up by saying the 90s was the best decade in the entire world, maybe into the early 2000s, and everything else does suck. So now we're back to square one. All right, guys, peace out.